not so sure, but I suggest that we continue to not wear, on red carpets, continue to not wear Hugo Boss garments, you know, if they don't get the message. It's easy to meet here. Now, what has happened, certainly, and because we're talking about several things here, because we talked about Hollywood on the other hand, and I've been a part of that, you know, some of the times I've had to go to Canada, you know, and make a film. But at the same time, there have been incentives. There's never been an incentive plan that comes out of California to make films that allow Hollywood producers to stay there. You know, that's one of the things. But what we have to do is these are workers who are working for $12 a day. These workers, $12 an hour. They make the average of $12 an hour. And right here, we have an opportunity to build a much larger community, an understanding that the workplace is a sacred place. And the workplace and the relationship that the workplace has to the community and building families and building citizenry has a very sacred place in this. It has been a part of this history. We watched this outflow of jobs, and we wonder why what is happening in this country. Why families have been destroyed by those, and what is happening. Communities have been destroyed by those the outflow of jobs. I think it's important that we begin to talk about it. We have to talk about it in terms of Hollywood. We have to talk about it in terms of Hugo Boss and other companies. We have to put this on the table. We have to say that it's not acceptable under any condition.
When you say we, you're talking about all the people, the average Jane.
I mean, every single one of us has. What is happening at this particular point, right? It happened is some sort of symbolic of something much that has happened for a long time in this country. We can talk about how the city of Detroit has been dismantled since the early 50s when jobs began to be exported there. What did that leave people with? You know, there's a kind of, this whole idea that we have a responsibility to our communities, that corporations have a responsibility to communities they're in, that they make a fine profit here, and I'm not saying, I'm not going to be a judge of whether it's too much or whether it's not enough, but they make a fine profit here, they keep people employed, and they have a social responsibility beyond that. I would like to think that Dr. King would talk about that when he talked about how do we create this symbolic, beloved community that he talked about. How do we create where we're something we appreciate workers and appreciate the long standing in the community, and how do you develop the goodwill, the spirit of goodwill, and I think that's part of what has happened as well.
Certainly by you getting involved, it's brought more attention to the fact that this plan is closing. Do you think you'll be able to get the company to reverse its decision to keep this plan open?
Well, I think that's not the decision. My involvement is not the reason that is why that's happening. The community is going to come by and make demands on this. Those men and women who work here, the communities that support these workers, they're the ones who are going to be the final ones who are going to make the call and demand that this company stays here.
Danny, what did you say to the workers and how were you received?
Well, on the one hand, I think everybody's morale was pretty down. It's been pretty down here. The fact that I simply just talked with them about what that I was here to support them. I talked about how they are the ones who are the courageous ones, who are making the stand, and that they're making the fight. I also saw them work and do their work, and watch them as they began to continue to do their work. You know, through all of the distractions, all everything else that is happening around there in terms of this plan, they continue to do their work. And this is really about celebrating them and being here in order to, if anything, provide some sort of inspiration for their struggle.
Will you keep fighting until the decision is finally made?
Well, I'm going to be, you may find me here again, and you might find me here to celebrate the fact that we do keep this plan open. And I hope that I'm here to celebrate the fact that we You know, I've been on campaigns with workers a great deal of my life, just basically all my adult life. Specifically, even before there was the idea that Danny had any kind of visibility that meant anything. So I have an opportunity to be here with workers and to say, as those artists who did not wear Hugo Boss at the academies, we care. We're here because we care. We're here because we know this is an important fight, and we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same ship here. You know, we've experienced this extraordinary moment, period of greed. Now, if we accept the fact that greed is a part of the human condition, a part of the human mentality, and it's something that is something, then we want to accept that. Then we're on our way to that place where what Dr. King talked about, where we lose all sense of our moral sense of what we can be. But we're here to begin to change people's ideas about perceptions of themselves and perceptions of the community they live in. And that there is something else that we have to talk about. And listen, this is not science. This is not rocket science. We're talking about how do we become each other's keeper in this sense. There's an extraordinary opportunity here for us to look at ourselves in relationship to not only workers here, but workers in other places. Workers who have been disenfranchised in this country, workers who are powerless in this country. There's an opportunity here to take this and sit down, just to sit back a minute. Just to sit back a minute. Because we're gonna have to change whatever this shift is, whatever it has, there has to be some sort of change in which we could recondition ourselves to believe that we have the power to control what we are capable of doing and build the kind of society we want to build. That has to be that.
Will you continue to lead the boycott of after?
No, I'm not, the workers are leading the boycott. I'm not
No,
leading
but with them not wearing their.
when I'm saying that I will continue, I'm here, and I'll continue speaking out. I'll continue to talk about it. I'm sure that somebody from the press is going to come to me and ask me something about Hugo Boss. Wherever I'm in the world, they've already done that. Even when I was in Brazil, somebody asked me about Hugo Boss and what was it saying about boycotting Hugo Boss. So people are going to ask me about it, and I'm going to respond to it. But they're here, right here. These are the lives that are affected. All of our lives are affected in the aggregate. But these lives affect us specifically. And once we begin to care about the needs of those who are the most vulnerable, I think that's the beginning when we begin to build the kind of society we want to wish for. And we're all dying for this. We know that. We know sometimes every single one of us wants this. I don't care where we sit, whatever newspaper we pick up, whatever idea, we're all dying for some place where we can build the kind of relationships that are possible. And then you cannot tell me that this experiment that has gone on, from the founding of this nation, to this experiment that is the Industrial Revolution that's led to the place where workers are, that we are not the people who can demand that the change has to come. With all the technology we have, with all the ideas we have there, we still have the capacity, we still have something in our human heart to change that, every single one of us.